Good afternoon and welcome to Hope Live. It's a beautiful day wherein we get interactive and discuss many pertinent issues surrounding our society and just how we are going to build ourselves to the next level. Today being one of those days that, when it doesn't like to be at work, but he has no option. We are so glad that you could join us on Hope Live. My name is Bright Sinkozi, your host on this program, but I'm not alone. Mwene Muyanga is also here with me. Pastor, it's a privilege to sit next to you after a week.
Well, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
It's sad that you were not with us last week. You had a bereavement and I was all alone.
I know,
Yeah.
but quite, what would I say? That discussion was, I mean, the 2 days I wasn't here were quite eye-opening, and I wish I was on set with you.
Oh yeah, I know you longed to be here, but we had to continue, and it was a great program, quite interactive, and a number of people were participating, and I was looking forward to another great experience I believe we are going to have today.
Well, today is yet another great experience that we are going to have on Hope Live, and even before we get into that discussion, there are issues surrounding early marriages. I don't know if I'm going to be abusing you by asking you that particular direction, scope of discussion, but I know you understand what we mean when we say early marriages. Here is the thing. We live in a society where, even you yourself, I know you go through this challenge where people are asking, when are you getting married? They don't care your age.
Well, that's a daily question, and I think sometimes people can get really insensitive. Others may be joking, but whatever the case, I don't think it's a very good question, because over time, even if you are joking, it begins to create pressure.
Yeah.
I have received that question many times from my closest friends, family members, and they're asking, we are not seeing any signs. Yeah, and I'm like, come on, I think there's still time, and they'll be like, no, I don't think you have enough time as much as you think you have the time.
But it's better for you as a man because, the pressure might come, but you make the decision. It's different on the part of girl children because, they have to wait on somebody to come their way. But we have seen a situation where a number of people, especially our girls, have been dragged into marriages at a very tender age.
It's a very sad situation, and in the 21st century that should have been an issue of the past. Unfortunately, it's not. We can see a number of girls in rural and urban areas getting married off at a very tender age. It's still happening. It's still a bigger challenge, I think, in Zambia and beyond.
And we're told Eastern Province is actually the highest in terms of early marriages. Maybe there's a lot to be done with regards to that, but also on this platform, we are going to dedicate a considerable amount of time to just address to those issues. That's not our major discussion for today, but the president, while in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, did address himself to that effect. And there's something that he brought out. We'll be playing the clip just in a moment. He says, let us not see girl children as commodities.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe he has seen it all. I have a girl child. And let me tell you this, that somebody was asking me just when I was in Livingston, how many children do you have? I said, I have 3, 1 girl, 2 boys. 2 boys. And this woman said, well, you need a couple of more girl children because that's wealth for you. 2 is okay for boys, but add even 2 more girls so that you have 3. They'll pay off what you're going to pay for the boy children.
Oh, yeah.
In that context, I think she meant that girl children is business.
Yeah.
But the president says no.
They're not commodities.
They are not commodities. Maybe to give more context to that, let's listen to what the president said when he was launching the 2025 AU champion report. Remember, President Hichilema is the AU champion when it comes to matters of child marriages. Well, the president addressed himself in this way.
I think it's also important for us not to see children as commodities, generally. I know sometimes it's a cultural issue and historic issue, but there's no way we can treat girl children as commodities, irrespective of our history, our customs. These are dear, beloved children of ours. Someone's child, if you're an elderly person, is your child. That's the African way. It takes community to raise children. So it means those are our children. Poverty, as expected, takes a huge share in terms of the reason for this kind of damage. And we have to root out poverty. Again, I come back to our economies, making our economies function as a primary responsibility of leaders in government, politics, in business, even in the civil society space. We must share this responsibility to ameliorate the poverty conditions in our communities. It's true to say digital spaces, technology has positive sides, but technology has a dark side where it is abused, where it is used negatively to infringe on the rights of our children as part of the reason. I think you look at abuse of social media today and how it's used to attack communities as a whole, but women in particular and children, is damaging. And when we try and put laws to protect children, then the other side of the coin rises to say, where are my rights? Freedom to communicate. Freedoms are not limitless. Where your freedoms end, and they should end, someone else's freedom start. Rights.
Well, that's President Hakainde Hichilema there. Quite a number of issues advanced there. Your take?
Well, I love the fact that he has also included technology. It's also another emerging problem when it comes to thinking girls are actually commodities. We have seen a number of cases also getting on the rise in our country where young children, ladies especially, are being exploited sexually on social media and other social media platforms without the knowledge of the parents. And I think to some extent, negligence is also contributing when it comes to not managing how technology should work for the girl child.
Negligence is actually something that the president did address himself to. Yeah. I think the next clip that we're going to play, he did mention something in that regard. But I'm thinking majority of our older ladies would have probably sought themselves off. And you've seen a situation where people are saying, "Ababagulis."
Yes. Yeah.
It's business.
Mm-hmm. It's become a very big business. And I'm not going to mention a certain popular Facebook page. A few minutes ago, before we started this program, I was reading a post where people are actually confessing how they have been selling. Those are women. Yeah. They are sharing different experiences, posting themselves anonymously, sharing experiences on how they have been selling. It's become sort of a norm. And I think this has grown into some women beginning to think of themselves as commodities. So now we are fighting two problems here. It is society not making a girl child a commodity. It is also the girl child, when they have grown, not making themselves or turning themselves also into a commodity. When they cannot be able to fend for themselves, the easiest way out becomes to use their body. People say, use what you have to get what you don't have. I've heard that statement
Whatever your
several
hand
times.
finds.
Exactly.
It could be a wrong application of
Yeah.
what scripture says, but at the end of the day, that is wrong. Also, the president did bring out something which borders on the aspect of the economy. Majority of us are struggling economically.
Sure.
And you find that for a parent who has a girl child under the age of 18, they feel, well, let's make money. We can't be suffering when we have a commodity.
Yeah, that happens, and it's because people are short-sighted. That does not solve an economic problem. It creates more problems, actually, because one, you are stealing the future of this child who should have liberated you from the problems.
Yeah.
Had you given this child an opportunity to get exposed, get an education, or get into something that is going to be meaningful out of their lives. But unfortunately, when we do not give this space for a girl child to blossom, we are not just destroying their lives, we are also destroying the economy. So there is quite a number of effects that people do not see in the long run. They're just looking at something they want to solve in a temporal moment. And I think I stand to be challenged. I have not seen any person who has become rich because they decided to sell off their girl children. I don't
Maybe
think
they don't
any.
come out in the open. But of course, these are some of the things that we have seen, not only on girl children, but generally when it comes to marrying off our children, girl children. There is just a price that we have attached to this marriage thing altogether that makes it feel like, well, this is business, and maybe somebody is going to get rich out of this outcome. But really, if you didn't work hard before having that girl child, it's not the girl child that is going to enrich you, because with that money, you just end up quarreling as a family and eventually finish the whole money without even doing anything tangible.
And also, if the boy child or men begin to think they can actually buy a woman, it also creates problems in terms of abuse, because they think, I bought this, I own this human being, and they begin to do some things that are not appropriate, because they think this is just a property. You begin to dehumanize someone because you paid a certain amount to get them.
Never get into marriage thinking that amount you paid traditionally is one that allows you to do anything to your significant other, because that is not a business transaction, but merely an obligation to appreciate what the parents have done to raise that particular person, and in the end you are supposed to be partners that are going to complement each other. So in case you are thinking, well, whatever the amount, I'll pay and I'm free to do anything with that woman, it's not anything that is going to even help you as an individual. But also the laws, being laws, will come and ensure that we do the right thing. You'll be put behind bars. Let me ask you a personal question.
Sure,
have you fallen in love with anyone here at the place of work?
No.
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 But if you were to find somebody attractive at the place of work, is there anything that you would entertain?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, I think if I was considering something in the long run, obviously.
Well, listen to what the president said.
The girl child. Sometimes it's mothers, the decisions they make. I'm right. You know I'm right. You saw, what do we call them, Thompson in Zambia, those women, Wanavimbusas, right? Women themselves dictating to young children what they should do, including to marry them off. No men involved, just women. But also men themselves, when they meet, they encourage their boys to marry early. Even elderly men believing that marrying a child will heal them. So we must all get involved in this issue and work as a package. As I said, civil society, private sector. There's an assumption that the business community is exonerated from these responsibilities. Not at all. For my sins of the past, coming from business, this is a very important aspect because a lot of things happen at the workplace. A lot of things happen at the workplace. Leave the girl child for a while. One of the businesses I ran in those days was a firm called Cooper's Library. And as a partner, as a managing partner, chief executive, I amended the partnership deed to include that no partner in the business should have relationships with women in the firm. Why? How can a partner approach a young 25-year newly recruited professional and expect that this female will say no? We, the partners, own the business. Of course, we were more resourced than the people who work for us. That is not a love affair. That is abuse. That's the way I saw it. Luckily, my partners agreed to my suggestion. So that's why I'm saying the private sector businesses have a responsibility. It starts from there. And together, we can make.
Well, again, I mean, the president is loud and clear, and I don't know your impression with that.
And I think the president was on point. He gave a very practical example of a young lady who's just getting this job. Obviously, they are looking for financial independence. And here is someone who's maybe a boss, or maybe an executive member of, or a board member of that institution.
Yeah.
And obviously, they have lots of money. It puts this lady in a difficult situation when it comes to...
But if the lady is selling...
So it's quite difficult, and
Yeah.
I think we need to look at it on both sides. Yeah, and the new employee should not be taken advantage of.
But that idea of discouraging romantic affairs during, I mean, at a work environment, you think, do you think it paves way to a sober approach to how we relate with each other at the places of work?
There is that possibility because people are now getting so fond of each other, and to some extent it might affect the output of both individuals. But that does not mean people cannot find love at their workplaces. I think
people have.
Yeah, people have, but I think professionalism must be the first thing.
I'm just thinking, you are this boss, and then your subordinate is in a relationship with you, and they're supposed to give reports and all that. But because there is this chemistry that is also stronger, it compromises on the output.
Definitely.
Let's say, okay, away from that, you get married, you have quarreled at home, you come at work.
Yeah, so
I'm just thinking how awkward it would be at the place of work.
It definitely would be, and it's also going to affect the output, the work output.
Yeah.
So we leave that one to the judgment of the people.
Let's
obviously.
get talking.
Yeah.
0976 151517. Would love to hear from you. You can send us a direct text on that number or WhatsApp message. And to those of you watching us on our social platforms, YouTube as well as Facebook, you do well to drop in your comment, if any, as we get interacting on Hope Live. Today, we will be discussing something very important, advancing gender equity through education, even as we tap into the 30 years of FAWEZA, that's Forum for African Women Educationalists in Zambia, who will be helping us really dismantle what this whole gender equity that we are talking about is all about. On the flip side, we will be joined by the executive director from this organization, Mr. Costa Kanchele. So stay with us because we'll be right back.
Back, and they're singing again. New sounds, new season. Join us for the Chordophones, the musical show that celebrates the art of stringed instruments and the harmony between music and faith.
Luamwena Kristu Lwabango ulwendo lwapachi
ikaiga moyo wangu shindino ndisunkwa bamama batata omuji mwinandume mwabe fitinya umpanga mulya.
The Chordophones, feel the rhythm of praise. Coming soon on Hope Channel Zambia. New season, new melodies, same message of hope. Hope starts here. Experience more love at home this February with Topstar. For just 210 kwacha on Antenna Classic or D-Smart, your home becomes a front row seat for the world's biggest moments. For the sports lovers, the rivalry that stops the world continues. Keep up with Real Madrid and Barcelona as the La Liga title race heats up, and more football drama in the Bundesliga, Saudi Pro League, Carabao Cup, plus more. Also catch the Milano 2026 Winter Olympics live from opening ceremony to the final medal on your Topstar Sports channels. For the heart and home, stay glued to Novella E-Class for gripping new telenovelas about commitment, sacrifice, and unbreakable bonds in Lavender Fields, airing daily at 1950 hours, and The Mother's Guild, airing daily at 2040 hours. There is something for everyone. Reconnect now. Topstar. Enjoy digital life.
All right, thank you so much for still staying with us. Today's conversation is centered on one powerful idea, advancing gender equity through education. Now, for decades, you'd agree with me that education in Zambia has not always been experienced equally. While many children have access to school, girls have often faced greater barriers from poverty and early marriage to teenage pregnancy, cultural expectations, and limited support systems. Now, this is why the work of the Forum for African Women Educationalists Zambia, FAWEZA, has remained so important. For 30 years, FAWEZA has focused on one mission, ensuring that being born a girl does not become a disadvantage in education. Gender equity in education is not about favoring girls over boys, but it is believed that it is about removing unfair barriers so that every child has a fair chance to learn, grow, and succeed. When girls stay in school, families are stronger, communities are healthier, and nations are more prosperous. As Faweza marks 30 years of service, this discussion gives us an opportunity to examine how education has become one of the most powerful tools for breaking cycles of poverty, empowering young women, and building a more just and balanced society. So today on Hope Live, we will explore how advancing gender equity through education is shaping lives, changing communities, and creating a better future for Zambia. They say education is a key to success, though I know that others say, well, maybe that key has been lost because everyone is not getting through to that door to success. But we are privileged, Mwene, to sit and discuss with Mr. Costa Kanchele, the Executive Director for Faweza now. I'm conflicted here whether to say Mr. Kanchele or Elder Kanchele.
Mr. is okay.
I know him from this background. One time my chair under the Golden Vocals Ministry, but
yes.
Mr. Kanchele, yeah, it's difficult for me. But thank you so much for accepting our invitation to sit down with us on Hope Live, and welcome to Hope Live.
Thank you so much, Pastor Sinkosi, and good afternoon, our viewers.
All right, we are greatly honored that even when it meant a midnight invitation,
yes.
you are here with us. We greatly appreciate. Before
Thank
we
you.
even get to the main discussion today, Mwene, do you know Faweza?
Yes.
Okay.
I do know Faweza.
Okay, but there could be somebody who doesn't even know what Faweza is.
Obviously.
So let's get from there.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, tell us about Faweza, Mr. Kanchele.
Thank you so much, Pastor Sinkosi, and also Pastor Mwene. The Forum for African Women Educationalists of Zambia, Faweza Zambia, as we are known elsewhere, but for us here we are known as Faweza.
Yeah,
we are fondly known as Faweza. We are nationally and internationally recognized as a leading voice and force where girls' education is concerned. The organization was formed in 1996 out of the realization that our girls then were not participating well in terms of education. That time around the mid-90s, if you are talking about enrollment at grade 1, I think the gender parity index point to the fact that it was around 96, or 0.96 or 0.97, meaning that we had more boys entering grade 1. And also when it came to those that entered grade 1, we had a number of them, dropping out of the education system to an extent that if you are to take a statistic of those who entered grade 1 and those who completed grade 12, they were very few. So participation at the time was quite low. Also participation in terms of taking science, technology, engineering and mathematics subjects, it was more like a preserve for boys. It was like a no-go area for girls. You remember, Pastor Sinkosi, that around that time, even STEM schools, national STEM schools like the Kaunda, like Hillcrest and others, they were exclusively for boys. So because of these issues, maybe suffice also to mention that even at entry level, maybe at university, enrollment at university, we had a situation whereby we had like 5 boys to 1 girl, entering university education. So at the time, participation of the girls in education was very low. And the issues that we struggled with as a country are issues of teenage pregnancy, early marriages, poverty, HIV and AIDS, issues also around gender-based violence. So these are some of the issues that we struggled with. But let me also mention that Faweza Zambia is part of a larger family. We belong to a Pan-African network called Faweza Africa. So when you hear like Faweza or Faweza Zambia, we are just one of the 34 national chapters that are affiliated to Fawe Africa. Most of these issues actually they cut across the continent of Africa.
Interesting. And now the problem seems so big, as you have mentioned. You were fighting so many things. How did you get started? Because there is HIV, there is teenage pregnancy, there is poverty against the girl child. All these things. What was your starting point? What was your entry level? Because it seems you are fighting so many things at once.
Yes, basically the starting point was to gather, actual statistics. In the initial years of Faweza, we were taking some surveys, just to look at the participation of girls in education. We were also, these surveys were done by Faweza, and we were also using, external consultants to do research. We were also using statistics by the Ministry of Education. Annually, the Ministry of Education, they do produce what is called education statistics. And then we were looking at how these numbers were flowing. And then beyond that, we looked at the environment. Was the environment conducive for the girls to participate? As much as we wanted to enter grade 1, to remain in school, to perform well, was the environment, correct in terms of, policy environment, in terms of legislation? So we put all these issues together to see whether it was conducive for the girl child to thrive in school. So that was our starting point.
You have been in and around for the last 30 years. I think you mentioned 1996,
yes.
And 2026 simply gives us 30 years of your existence. Before we even break down that particular 30-year journey that you've undertaken, one, I'd just be wondering, you seem to have a very heavy bias towards girl children, women. Where do you place the boy child?
It's a very interesting question. And I think currently, people actually, their guns are blazing. They are saying, you have done this issue about, girls' education. Where are you placing the boys? From inception, Faweza has been working with both girls and boys. But of course, if you were to quantify, we were supporting more girls than boys. I know where we are starting from when it came to some of our products, for example, bursaries, if you like. We were giving 70% girls and 30% boys. I remember at some point, actually, we gave 60% girls and 40% boys. So we have not left the boy child behind. But you see, when we're talking about equity, you are trying to ensure that both genders are at the same footing in terms of opportunities that are available for education. If it means that you take more girls to ensure that you arrive at that equilibrium, you do that. But if you continue with the status quo, then you're not resolving the problem. So otherwise, we do support, even to this very day, we also support boys.
But would have thought we'd have talked about a 50-50% because, we do have a number of girls. I think President Hichilema did mention in that address to say, because the concentration has weighed heavily on advocating for a girl child, which is okay, it's a good cause, based on the background you have given. They were not in school. Maybe the situation is different now because check the recent grade 12 results. We see that girls actually did perform better than the boys, meaning your efforts are yielding results. But now we also see that we have a number of you call them junkies that are stemming from the boy gender who are terrorizing the same girls that you are trying to protect and ensure that they are in school. At the end of it all, we would have arrived at nothing because those we have neglected can also ruin the future of those that we are supporting.
protect.
But that's besides the point.
No, but I think, can I react to
Please,
that?
please, Geoffrey.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's better to talk about statistics. Yeah, so that we look at the whole picture.
Right.
The problems that I talked about, currently, if you are talking about enrollment at grade 1, we have attained gender parity. If you are talking about the number of girls participating in primary school education, we have also attained gender parity. Yeah, actually at primary school level, it's around 1.05. At secondary school level, we have also attained gender parity. We have about 1.09, meaning that girls are participating as boys. But you see, we still have issues. Yeah, we still have issues. Maybe before I come to that, even at university level, most universities now, they have improved their selection processes by, adopting the quota system, where previously it was 1 girl to 5 boys, but now it is around 1 girl to 3 boys, which is fair. But does it mean that we have resolved the problems? No, we still have problems. Girls are still dropping out of school because of early marriages. What are the numbers? 29% of the girls that are aged between 20 and 24 are dropping out of school because they are getting married. If you are talking about those between 15 and 18 years, 5% of the girls, they are dropping out of school because of early marriages. If you are talking about teenage pregnancies, we have close to 13,000 girls that are dropping out of school. So when you look at all these statistics, the situation is not looking good, and we cannot say we have arrived, can we sit back? Now, what should we do? If the women organize themselves, when they realize that the girls are not participating well in school, and they formed institutions like, FAWEZA and the other, programs to ensure that this is addressed. Pastor Sinkozi, Pastor Mwene, where are the men? If you are seeing that boys are becoming junkies, why are you waiting for a woman? That's the challenge. Why are you waiting for a woman now to have 2 problems? The girl child and now the boy child. So I think also, instead of saying, okay, we are armchair critics, FAWEZA, can you also look at what you have done, the boys? Let's stand up. Let's ensure that we encourage the boys also, to remain in school. But still more, when you look at all these numbers put together, we still have a big problem to do with the girls, especially as you go to rural areas. It's really shocking. I was listening to what you were discussing with Pastor Mwene, Pastor Sinkozi, when someone was challenging you to say, boys, I think maybe increase so that you can have more girls. Out there, that is the issue. You need more girls. That is a quick way to raise resources, and the president did mention about it. So we still have a lot of problems. But let's not move in such a way that we want to reverse the gains, like we go back to zero again.
That really is what I was going to. 30 years of your existence as FAWEZA Zambia, or FAWEZA as we commonly know it. One might just be asking, in the last 30 years, what has really changed in terms of school retention for girls, policy influence? I think you have been instrumental when it comes to policy issues in the education of girl children, but also community transformation. I didn't mention about junkies. But we know that even when we look in the streets, we still have quite a significant number of our girl children that are still roaming the streets aimlessly, and also abusing substance and all that. But also maybe your success stories as FAWEZA 30 years down the line.
Yes, when we look back from where we started from as an organization, we are satisfied that actually the impact is there. It is felt. It is felt. If we are to talk about policy influence, for starters, I'm sure Pastor Sinkozi, Pastor Mwene, you have heard of the re-entry policy.
Yes.
The story of the re-entry policy cannot be completed without mentioning FAWEZA, because FAWEZA is one of the organizations, together with the other like-minded CSOs, that worked with the government to ensure that the re-entry policy was established. So this policy, gives a second chance to the girls that dropped out of the school system to reclaim their places. So without the re-entry policy, it was like a death penalty. You are saying that you get pregnant, you are out of the system, no education. And actually, I do wonder what kind of society we were. Because like even in our church, if someone has made a mistake, a fully grown-up man like ourselves, we still give a second chance. Censure, or even if one has been removed, you can still be rebaptized. There was an option. But I don't know why you were thinking that girls cannot come back to school. But apart from the re-entry policy guidelines, we have participated in a number of policies. For example, in the education policy, in the national gender, policy, their establishment and reviews, and also even in terms of legislation, we have participated in the review of the 2011 Education Act, for example. And this is why, at the moment, when you read the Education Act, especially Section 25, Articles 1 to 4, we are talking about readmission there. That girls that drop out of school, they can still go back to school. So we have the re-entry policy guidelines, somehow supported by the law, though I still have an issue of this support in the law. Then apart from policy influence, we have also been piloting, demonstrating that FAWEZA is not an armchair critic. We can also do and contribute to what government is doing. We have been offering scholarships, like I mentioned, to the girls and boys. We have actually given scholarships in thousands, just to make sure that the girls do not drop out of school on account of non-payment of school fees. And we also realized that, girls were actually walking long distances to school. You agree with me to say that the education system in Zambia currently is some kind of a pyramid, where you have more spaces as you start grade 1, but these spaces are shrinking as you go to secondary school. We have more primary schools than secondary schools. So girls, they start walking long distances to schools. So on the way, they meet gender-based violence. And also when they start camping around the schools to access the school, because boarding facilities were not there, they are also, met with violence. So we had one innovation called, safe houses, where we built some safe houses with our limited resources, just to advocate, just to showcase to government to say that we need boarding facilities. If you go to Jembo Secondary School, you find, a safe house there, which was built by FAWEZA. If you go to Sanje here in Mumbwa, you also find a safe house that was built. And we are happy that out of this government also, out of own realization and also our advocacy, like this time whenever government builds a secondary school, it is a boarding school to try and address all these issues. We advocated also that there should be more spaces for girls in STEM. So like I mentioned in my preamble, like if you look at there are only boys there. You go to Eucharist, there are only boys there. But now we have girls in these institutions, in national technical schools. But the government has gone beyond by also building exclusively, girls, STEM schools like Indola Technical, NICO, and other institutions. So we have been doing quite a lot. Also in terms of quality of education, we have been supporting schools through mobile libraries, where we have been, giving, text materials. You see, it's another big problem. If you look at a book, student ratio or pupil book ratio, at primary school, it is 33 students against 33 learners against one book. As you go to secondary school, even currently, you find that is over 80 pupils are getting against one book. So we had this innovation where we're providing books and issues like that. Also in terms of access, you could have heard of transit schools. There was one here in Chivolia. There was one in Kalingalinga, in Eastern Province. We have just come out of Eastern Province through transit schools. So we are trying to, showcase that, okay, these children are out of school. They can still be brought, in the school environment. There are so many things, but let me also talk about gender responsive pedagogy. At times, girls can access education, but they cannot perform. because of stereotyping. For example, if I am a teacher and I'm teaching chemistry, and then maybe a girl is trying to answer a question in chemistry and she gets it wrong. And I say, oh, this is for boys. It's for boys. But if it's a boy getting it wrong, I say, no, don't behave like a girl. Be a boy. You should be getting it. So these teaching tendencies, they are causing the other gender not to participate, positively. So we have this innovation called the gender responsive pedagogy, where we actually, target teachers, so that, in their teaching, the methodology, encompasses both the needs of a girl child and also a boy child. But suffice to mention that whatever we are doing, we are not in competition. No, we just want to bring about equity. The girl child needs a lot of help.
Quite a number of things you have mentioned that the institution has done. Maybe still on school retention for girls.
Yeah.
How have you helped girls with disabilities and also girls who have dropped out of school besides getting pregnant? Maybe they become orphans, or maybe certain circumstances no longer allow for them to go or to access education.
Yeah, maybe let me start with currently how we are trying to handle disability. We have a massive program with the support of the Mastercard Foundation. So this Fawe Mastercard Foundation program, we want to support around 1,550 students at the TVET and also university level. But purposely, we have set aside a percentage, for those with the disabilities, that they can be, also enrolled. Yeah, so we have set aside specifically a certain percentage to ensure that these places are reserved for boys and girls with the disabilities. And also in terms of retention, we have a psychosocial support program, which we roll out in an innovation called Safe Club. That is the Students' Alliance for Equity. So in these clubs, in all the schools where we are, we ensure that in addition to the scholarship and other interventions, there's a Safe Club. In this Safe Club, we are targeting both girls and boys, where we talk about issues of growing up. Yeah, because you see, you can sort out the financial problem for this girl child or a boy child, but they can still drop out on issues of social issues. They need support there. So we have a robust innovation called Safe Clubs. So wherever we are, in terms of other activities, we make sure that we have a Safe Club. So in these Safe Clubs, there are issues of growing up, there are issues of skills, there are issues of making these learners aware of gender-based violence, and also when it has happened, we teach them what to do, where do they go, and we also have a very strong safeguarding program to ensure that those who work with these young people, be it at school level, be it anywhere, that the girls are always safeguarded.
The issues of school dropouts that you've mentioned, we earlier touched on the issues of teenage pregnancy, and we did mention that the rural areas are highly affected by that. But we will also not cast a blind eye in the urban areas, because these things still happen in some urban areas, Lusaka inclusive, where parents feel they cannot just manage, and the best that they'll do is ensure that their child gets married. So early marriage also, or child marriage as it were, also comes in. But also the issue of cultural barriers becomes something that I feel is a threat to your activities. 30 years of your existence, you've handled these things. They still are happening. The president, at the launch of his Champions Report, also emphasized on that. It appears it is still something that is with us, and if we do nothing against this, about it, we will still face these challenges for the next 30 years while Faweza is in existence. It's a threat. You have positioned yourselves for these activities to ensure that a girl child is looked at as a human being that is as valuable as a girl child. The truth is that there has been reduction, as you've reported. Success stories have been put in place, but the truth still remains that there are still some people who feel educating a girl child is a waste of resources. I'm glad your communication person is a female. And maybe people are supposed to see that there is a need to empower a girl child, because once a girl child is educated, then the entire community is considered educated. But there are people that just say, Pastor Mwene is there to marry, and so Mwene is doing fine. They'll still eventually be kept well and all that. And so the president's word, commodities, they are considered as commodities. How are you facing these head-on outside your bursary schemes and all these other activities that you are doing? How are you facing these challenges that seem to be rooted in our society today?
Yeah, indeed, teenage pregnancies, child marriages, they have persisted. Yeah, so as Faweza, to start with, we have recognized that we need to work as a network. So we belong to a number of networks where we bring our ideas together, and through concerted efforts we try to see how we can resolve this issue. For example, we belong to a network called Tusunge, and Tusunge mwana watu mkazi. There is also another network on child marriages, a number of networks where we belong, so that together, through concerted efforts, we handle this. Secondly, also, we are working with traditional leaders. Traditional leaders are well respected in the communities where they are. They are the custodians of tradition. And when you go through them to talk about the importance of education, especially for a girl child, and once you win the hearts of traditional leaders, they are able to control what is happening in those localities. And I'm happy that Pastor Sinkos and Pastor Mwene, that in some of the communities that we serve, we have signed, what do we call these social agreements? I'm looking for the term. Yeah, where you sign a document that in this chiefdom, if you marry off a girl child, someone who is a child under the age of 18, this is the punishment. And we have very strong allies, if you are talking about Chief Mazimawe is one of our strong allies, Chief Chamuka and the other, chiefs, and also village headmen and women. So we have seen that working with traditional leaders is a very, very good thing, because it helps also to change the mindset of the people. It's true that there is tradition which encourages, a girl child to get married. Where I come from, we have issues like in Kolola. In Kolola, normally the moment the breasts are showing, people know that this one is grown up. Yes, but these days, someone around 13, 14 years. So you find that someone 14, 15 years is already ready to be a wife, if you just look at the body. Yeah, but this one who is 15 years, they're supposed to be in school. Maybe grade 9, grade 10, okay. Yeah, so how do you marry off that child? And normally, tradition, when they say Nkolola or whatever they are called in other languages, it is not just a ceremony, as we just dance, but a lot is going there. Yeah. And at the core of it is teaching this girl how to take care of a man. Yeah, bedroom issues. But someone is still in school. Yeah, we in some other areas where we serve, we hear stories like, when this girl is in the house, before she comes out, there must be an animal called the feces, and the feces must test. And this is the old man who must test and see if these women have really taught this girl, So we confront all these issues, but when we work with traditional leaders, all these things are beginning to reduce, to bear fruit. But of course, not at the rate that we want these things to move.
It's better
But
we get
apart
started.
from that, we do popularize, the existing policies, the existing law that is in support of, education for girls. Yeah. So if you look at, for example, the re-entry policy itself, the education policy itself, when it comes to law, the Education Act, you look at also the Anti-Gender Based Violence Act, and also the most recent Children's Code Act. When you put all these things together, they support the participation of girls in school. But the problem that we have is not policy, it's not legislation, it is implementation. So we do popularize these issues. We go into these communities where these issues are rampant. We bring out these salient issues, summarize them, and some of them in the local languages that they understand. And you bring them to speed to say, doing this is against this policy, doing this is against this law. This is what this law says. So we are doing all these things, but also most importantly, working with the media. Because if Faweza can only physically reach a small number of people, we need partnerships, Hope Channel and other media houses, because like the way we are speaking now, this is going far and wide, and the information is reaching. So partnerships with the media is something that we have embraced, and beyond this program, want to see how we can work with you in these issues.
It is an honor for us. But before we even ask you to apply yourself to 30 years of Faweza, what activities have been lined up or what you've been doing? I think you've been doing this for quite some time. We did see a launch of that particular activity. As a country, outside Faweza's scope of activities, the duties that you've heaped on yourselves 30 years down the line, there is Zambia as a whole that is supposed to be concerned. But even before I talk about Zambia, and maybe how we are going to move in the next direction. I was thinking within me, Mr. Kanchele, that willingness is one thing that has made people go far. When you are not willing, you no matter what happens. Talk about the people that are abusing drugs. If they're not willing to stop, you might take them to a rehab center. They are not going to change. Same applies to education. There are certain people that even if you force them to go to school, that it is already inculcated in their minds to say, well, there is nothing that I'm going to get out of education. So Faweza, you waste your resources. But then Faweza is saying, you need to go to school because you have, it's equity that we are talking about. You have the same power that a boy child has. But then this individual is not just willing. You might take them. At the end of the day, they'll still come back and, they were how do you handle such? That's number one. Number two, somebody has been married off early, but they have the willpower to further their education. They don't want to leave the marriage, but they also want the education. How do you deal with such people? Do you force them out of school, or you can still support them while they are running a home because it's already been given to them? They are quite young, but they are saying, I'm going to handle this as well as education. But are you able to encourage people move in that direction? There are two questions in that.
Yes, I think the first question about willingness is about mindset change. And really, it's a very big question, Pastor Sinkozi, because when you go to rural areas, you go to Dundumwezi, down there near the park there, the girls, all they see is mothers. So you just aspire.
Not to cut you short. In one of the weddings I was emceeing, I asked a child, what do you want to be when you finish school? She said, I want to be a mother.
Yes. Very true. Very true. When we sit here in the city, we think that we have done enough. But to go to these rural areas, these girls, they have no role models. So one of the issues that we handle, that we have, the vehicle that we have used as Fawe Zambia, is the use of role models. And this is why when we were talking to government is that these young girls, the teachers, since we are recruiting teachers, these young girls go to these areas so that these girls can see that, oh, so I can also become a teacher. Yeah. So we use role models. We used to have a very big program called Building Bridges, where actually we were, interviewing these women who, against all odds, they were able to complete their education and, became who they are currently. So the issue of using role models where the girls can use their eyes and see, then it quickly, changes their minds. Then we also use, we have also formed structures in these communities. We are proud of one structure called community action groups. This is a group of men and women, who have interest in education of the girl child, and even the boys themselves. These are the people whom we have trained, who understand fully the importance of education, who sit down with the families and the girls themselves to let them know how important, education is. Currently, if you want to become a counselor, what does the law say? So, as much as you want to be a civic leader, if you have not reached grade 12, you have not passed. You can't be a civic leader. These are some of the issues that we are talking about. For you to participate in, CDF, funding in whatever form, you need to have some kind of skills, and that has to do with the, education. So without this elementary education up to grade 12, then these community action groups are able to tell these young people that your aspirations, will not work without education. And we are happy that with this kind of message, popularizing the importance of girls' education, together with the existing policies like the re-entry policy, together with free education policy, where now they don't pay anything. So all this is making a number of people to go back to school. And through the safe clubs also, it is making the girls not to persevere, to remain in school. Yeah. I think it was two in one. There was another question
about one already in marriage.
Yes.
They are willing to further their education.
Yes. They can further their education. But suffice to mention that Ministry of Education has, other alternative, pathways that one can use. For example, there's a Department of Distance Education in Dode, if you like. But maybe for a mother, who wants to go in a formal class, and then this person is still in a home, is married, I think
serving a Mr.
He's saving Pastor Mwene and then wants to go back to school. I don't think it is always that unless you sit in a desk like another, there are other pathways that can still be used, that can be encouraged. But suffice to mention that recently there has been a lot of media, coverage. I remember, was it last year, where there was this quite old woman, somewhere in her 50s. I think she wrote her grade 9 that time, and she passed very well. Yeah, so as to whether she was sitting in a class like another, it is one thing. Maybe it's a technical question which requires Ministry of Education. But suffice to mention that there are other pathways. If you're sitting in a class, it's not feasible.
Oh, yeah. And leading you back to success stories, do you have a deliberate policy or a way in which you still get hold of people that have been supported by FAWEZA to have them participate in talking to some of these girls, especially when you talk about going to rural areas? Is there any policy that guides anything related to that?
We might not really have a policy, but we have a group of the alumni.
Oh,
yeah, all those who have passed through the hands of FAWEZA, either through the support, financial support, or psychosocial support. We encourage them to join the alumni. But of course, the alumni here in Zambia, it has not yet reached where we want it to be. Yes, but we really want this the alumni association to be strong. But when we have an opportunity, yes, actually we go with these young people, especially when we are forming the safe clubs in schools. We want these young people actually to lead from the front. They are the ones actually who are talking to these young people, you know, as an example that, look, I'm as young as you are, have completed my education, so you can also do it. It's not that it has been smooth for me. There were things, but look, here I am. Yeah, and when they talk about what they are doing, maybe they are working, or maybe they are doing business, they are successful. When they see them, how they are looking, they are inspired to say that the root is education. But also, suffice to mention that I think the message is actually reaching out. When you look at the number of children who are out of school, those who have gone back to school, in the past 2 years, we are talking about something like 2 million. Those were out of school, but they have gone back to school. It might not be Faweza's job alone, but we have made a contribution to that.
Maybe this is a call for alumni watching to join the Faweza alumni and also contribute greatly to the already good job that you're doing.
Thank you, Pastor Mwene. I don't know how we can amplify that point. Please, you people who are watching us, who are seeing us, who have passed through the hands of Faweza, please join the alumni. We want you to be part of this group. You can help one girl child there whose future is about to be ruined. By talking to them, you are encouraging them. It will make them come back, to access education.
All right, it feels, I mean, I know one. I'll talk to
Please.
one. Sponsored. Yeah, it's always, I mean, important to just be a source of inspiration to the people that are coming after you. And that's the reason why I think I appreciated your Building Bridges program that really makes others say, well, you think you are failing in this direction, but it is very possible that we will get somewhere by the end of the day. As we wrap up our discussion, before you speak as Faweza, your message to Zambia, what we should do next in order for us to protect the future of the children. What role should the church play? What role should the media play? Families themselves, what role should they play? Government and also the civil society organizations.
Very good question. I think to start with, these children, they come from families.
True.
I know the time we were growing up, maybe in the village, maybe your grandfather's house is just a stone throw away. And these issues about growing up, my grandfather would talk to me, my grandmother would talk to my sister. But currently what we have is just the nucleus, a family, just the father, mother, and children. We have become too busy, Pastor Senkozi, to sit down to talk to our children. So I want to encourage family altars, for those who are Christians. And when you meet, take advantage at times to talk about topical issues affecting young people, not just talking about salvation alone at that higher level. I think when we break this down into issues of growing up, it is part of salvation, because you save them from some of these issues. Because when they leave your home, they go out there, they are meeting people from other families. So the first thing is that families, let's ensure that we educate our families. Let's be teachers. And also when we are growing up, this issue of uncle, auntie, it was not there. It was father, mother. Yeah? So children might not have their biological father, but where they are living, play the role of a father, play the role of a mother. So that is the role of the home. And also in the family, let's ensure that we provide what is required for the girls. At times, as the husbands, as men, we think that the needs of a girl, they are as the needs of a boy child. A girl child needs a little bit more. A girl child is asking you for money, but you say, do a budget. What is this money for? Sure, you want this girl child to say, I want money for pads. It is time for that time. No. I think let's be sensitive. let's ensure that we give what is required to these children in the home. At school, you are second parents. Let's take care of the children. School-related gender-based violence is quite rampant there. Let's ensure that children are safe, yeah, from all these from all these things. And also at national level, I think in terms of policy, in terms of legislation, I think we are good to go. There could be maybe one or two things which you still need to work on. But by and large, I think we are good to go. What is required now is to make sure that what is contained in these policies, in these pieces of legislation, they reach, Kaputa, they reach, Vubwi, they reach Kalabo, they reach all the places in between, so that parents and even the learners themselves, they are able to claim these rights that are contained there. And also the duty bearers, the teachers and other people, that they do what they are supposed to do. So it requires everyone to be involved to ensure that the girl child remains in school.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Kanchele. 30 years activities for Faweza. What has been happening? What is happening? For how long?
I wish the comms person was here, but I'll talk about it, because she's at the core of this and she's running far and wide. So on 8th March 2026, Faweza is clocking exactly 30 years of existence. So 8th March is on a Sunday, yeah, but we are going to have our celebration on the 6th, which is a Friday. And purposely we thought that we should have a dinner gala. Yeah, we have planned that we should have a dinner gala.
Dinner?
Yes, dinner. So, Pastor, dinner.
I feel to hear that.
Yeah, and we have humbly requested the presence of our Vice President, her honor the Vice President of this country, being a woman herself and being an educationist, sure, and also being a leader at that level. We have asked her to come and grace this occasion. We just hope that she will graciously accept. But before that climax, we have lined up a number of activities that we are doing. We are running what we call 30 days countdown to that day. So every day we have an activity. We go to schools to give sanitary wear to the girls, especially the schools that are in the outskirts, in the villages, where these sanitary wear will really make a difference. Yeah, we have been to these schools and we continue going there. And also at one of the schools, actually, we painted one classroom, a lab, so that the learners can have not just this new face, that the classroom is looking better, and we hope that it will improve their quality of education because of that environment. Then we know that Faweza, has been nurtured up to this level because of some women who have, spared time, who have sacrificed their time to nurture Faweza, to make sure that Faweza does not die up to this level. We want to speak to them. What is in their mind, what was there in their mind when they formed Faweza, what have they done, and what do they want, to be done. So we are going to interview them, and we hope to partner with the media so that their thoughts are also streamed, so that other people can also benefit. And one of the activities, apart from the 30 days countdown, a day before the celebration, we have our own premises, the National Secretariat, which has not been named. So we wanted to give a name to this house, the Secretariat. It will be something house. So just as a way of appreciating someone's
speaking
effort.
As a prophet,
yes,
to be Costa Kanchele. Mr. Kanchele, we truly appreciate that you came through. Are we invited for the dinner? What should we come with? What should we wear?
No, actually, you receive a special invite also.
Okay.
Let me just say this. When I got that message from you, actually I saw it in the morning, you were sending it at 22 to almost 23:58. Yeah, I was like, did we actually write to Hope Channel about this space.
We remembered you before you remember.
So I'm just trying to say that we really appreciate the courtesy that you have accorded us. Yeah, we could have written to other people, but they're saying, can you pay? And I say this with humility, that when you are asked to come and talk about this, which is of national importance, without paying, we did appreciate. Why can't we reciprocate?
Amen.
Yeah, but maybe one thing, I know we are closing, I wanted to say one thing.
Sure.
The re-entry policy is a very important piece of document, re-entry policy guidelines. But to make sure that the re-entry policy works very well, I think it needs to be supported. It needs to be backed by law. I hope that some members of parliament could be listening to this. What we have in the Act, when you look at the Education Act, Section 25, clauses 1 to 4, what you see there, it was an attempt that the re-entry policy is backed by law. But what that act is saying, that someone who refuses to admit, someone who wants to re-enter, according to the SI by the minister, statutory instrument by the minister, but up to where we are, we have no statutory instrument by the minister. So meaning that the re-entry policy guidelines is not backed by the law, and this is why we are calling for that statutory instrument. Can we have the statutory instrument that is going to back the re-entry policy guidelines, so that because there are still those people who would not want these girls to come back to their schools. They're saying, no, you are a bad example, so don't come back to our school. Yeah, there are those who are still saying that. But once it is law, it means that those people are bound to ensure that the girls are re-entering. And the goodwill is there. We can see that for the first time in 2024, according to Ministry of Education Statistics Bulletin, the number of girls who returned to school is higher than the number of girls who dropped out in that particular year. Girls who dropped out are around 13,000, but girls who went back to school are around 17,000. So the goodwill is there, and once we have the re-entry policy fully backed by the law, then we are sure that these girls who went through these hardships, they have been allowed to go back to school.
All right, thank you so much. You speak with ease, clarity. It clearly shows that you are passionate about the things that you are doing. So, Nchimunya Hang says, thanks for the information. And Mumu Kwalela says, this is really great. It's so educational. Exuda Nsangu Masumbuko says, very insightful. The aim is to not leave anyone behind and bring equity. There is no competition. Okay, Zero Pew, toasting Faweza at 30 years. Well, this is what we have been really emphasizing. When your closing remarks?
Well, I just want to thank him for coming. It's been an insightful conversation. I'm sure you understand how passionate I am when it comes to such issues, and I feel revived to actually continue advocating for some of these things. And so I'm grateful that we actually had this conversation, and we hope that even our viewers will stand up and act and begin to become ambassadors of this goodwill, support every girl child. One thing I love about equity, it's not about who gets more. It's about creating a balance for everyone to survive. So if a boy child needs 2 and the girl child needs 5 for them to be at the same level, we are not focusing on the 5. We are focusing on putting them at the same level. And I think this is the call that Faweza has been making for the longest time. So we need to act as community members, the church, and everyone else of us to be able to support the girl child and make sure that they get the very best that they need out of this life.
All right, a lot of what Faweza is doing is something that you can easily access through their many platforms, social platforms, as well as their website, to just know how and just when you can access their services. But we are strongly talking to the alumni. Yeah, these people. I mean, it's not too much to ask. But if you can come up together and be an inspiration to the other younger generation, it's going to do us a great deal. So entry policy is there, but also just from the aspect of vulnerability, that's not reason enough for you to stay away from school. I remember in the olden days when would be told, at least know how to write a letter. And then if you have known how to write a letter, life is going to be easy for you. Mr. Kanchele did indicate here to say, this time around, even to just participate in civic matters, you are vying for a civic office, you need a grade 12 certificate. So have that one, and it is going to propel you to greater heights. It's alarming, actually, to be at this point where we have few women that are fighting for the top job, for example, in this country. I mean, why should we live at that level when we have organizations like FAWEZA that are trying to make everyone realize that we are just but the same? And from the scripture point of view, God made us equal.
Yes.
Why should we undermine another person? Even in marriage itself, we are all the same.
Yeah.
Before the eyes of God, we are the same. And so if we would come together and join hands with FAWEZA, it is going to help us. And we are glad that as Hope Channel Zambia, the first step has been taken.
Yeah,
Indeed.
It all starts here.
Yeah.
Starts here.
Tolumba.
Thank you so much, Pastor.
Thank you so much for coming.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Pastor.
All right, we end here for today. We are back on Wednesday.
Yeah, sure.
For yet another intriguing discussion. But for today, we are grateful that FAWEZA did come through. We do pray that you've been blessed by this discussion. From all of us, it's God bless and keep watching.
Thank you.